life, but with a light.
Sandra Ezekwesili.
And I'm Oboh.
Join us 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. every weekday.
Right here.
On Hard Facts.
Hello, Lagos. Good afternoon. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili, and these are your hard facts.
Shaku Maku. I'm Oboh, and I can shout, "What's up, Lagos?" I don't know how those guys do it from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., but
yeah, that's for Lunchtime Magazine.
Yeah,
you should join in. It's pretty fun.
So what I do sometimes when I hear them I go on turn on the TV so I can watch. You guys can't watch them, but I can watch them and see the madness going on here. But it's great, huh?
It reminds me of when I was hosting the Good Morning Nigeria show on Cool FM in Port Harcourt.
Yeah.
So I started my show every morning with Good Morning Nigeria. Yeah, I can be a bit mad sometimes.
And then it took Sandra like 6 months to get away from Good Morning.
Yes, remember when I started here? I used to say good morning all the time.
Yeah.
Thank God that chaos is over. Yeah. Somebody else that's experiencing a lot of chaos today is the Democrats who are trying to...
They've been cracking house with it. Can't be a good.
They've been trying to have their political primaries. The day after the primary held today, there's still no results that have been announced. The organizer is claiming discrepancies in the results and technical failures. And several candidates have declared victory while their supporters are accusing each other of electoral fraud. Now, this is not a story from Nigeria. It is America.
Yeah.
It is America. Democratic Party's primary in Iowa. It has turned to Zamfara APC Aghogho.
I sort of like the way, the international media is coloring this story to make you look like, it's not just, it was Africa. Oh my goodness. Backward, corrupt system, inefficient system.
Attempts to rig the election. Now, they're saying that there may be a discrepancy with the app that organizers were using to transmit results from the caucus locations to the headquarters. I'm like, JB, they told us that electronic voting was better. You laugh.
I have to laugh. I'm laughing in Esperanto.
You laugh.
Yeah.
I hope Nigerians who want electronic voting.
How did they describe this thing again? This jargon that you just read now.
They say that their app is having issue, and so they cannot transmit
the one before that one. But it's what we call rigging here, right?
When we say we cannot find torchlight, or you need ruler, or my glasses, I can't see very well through my glasses. Anyways, technical malfunctions do not get in the way of hard facts. I go on air here every weekday, giving you the best insights into today's most important topics. We bring them to you, break them down, give you the facts so that you can form an informed opinion. And if you miss any show from last week, you can catch it online. We have a great show for you today. Lagos State Government demolishes Kotanguwa market. More reactions to the restriction of Okada and Kekes continue to pour in. And Inspector General of Police says community policing constables will not be paid. What's happening on Community Report, Aghogho?
So we continue the discussion of one of the topics in Big Three, which is the biggest story in town, the ban on Okada and Keke. Just what exactly is going on the street. Chukudi is out there, and he will be at Igwefon, which is one of the communities along the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway, to find out just where the Kekes have gone to. I understand that there's some community there where you have Keke still operating. So he'll be there.
All right, and then we're going to wrap up with World Cancer Day. That's happening on the Big Hard Fact. It is World Cancer Day. Started on the Morning Crossfire today, and we're going to look at that as well. We'll wrap up the show with Conversations with Rufai. That happens from 6:15 after the news at 6. We're bringing you updates, all the latest updates from the worlds of news, business, sports, and entertainment. But for now, let's bring to you the Big Three.
Tis the Big Three.
The Big Three on Hard Facts
on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
All right, you know what to expect on the Big Three stories that everybody is talking about right now. Is government ever justified in destroying traders' property? How's the Okada and the Keke restriction affecting you? Is it safe to have unpaid community police constables? Let's get into these stories. The Lagos State government on Monday demolished the Kotanguwa market. The government's bulldozers moved in and crushed the stalls, the shops, the plazas of the market to make way for a planned computer village. Traders at the market are claiming that their goods were still in the demolished shops, with some reporting losses in the tens of millions of naira. The traders accuse the government of not allowing them to remove their goods from the affected area and that they were only given a 7-day quit notice. The government, however, contends that it informed the traders as long as the year 2000 that it had earmarked the market for other uses. Government has also said that it's going to be compensating affected traders tens of millions in naira. Aghogho.
Yes, tens of million. And then what is sad, of course, heart goes out to the traders whose business has been affected. But also to the problem here is the notice has been served indeed since 2000, and every other administration has renewed that. The market leaders will go and then will beg, prostrate and say, please give us some more time. Save for Akiumi Ambode's government, we did not hear much about it, but indeed they've been given quit notices for several years. And I remember being in some press conferences where it was marked that because of the chaotic nature of the computer village in Ikeja, they were going to move that this way to Kotanguwa market. But the business, people know Kotanguwa because of the goods okrika. Let me not say okrika, tokumbo. What would you say? Hand-me-down wares that are sold there is what people have known that market for.
You can call them vintage as well.
Several. What?
Vintage.
Okay. Sandra's vintage wares, but not from I can assure you it didn't come from Kotanguwa market, but it's one of those markets that has shaped the market scene for people who are in Lagos for several years.
So some background, government is saying that they told the traders 20 years ago that they needed to move out of the place. But the traders, according to the Punch, are saying that yes, government said so, but that in the 20 years after that warning, government continued to approve building plans in the market. And so according to the Punch, the traders assumed government had changed its mind and given up its plan to close the market. So there needs to be a bit more digging done here. Anybody who received a building plan in the last 20 years needs to come forward and present it. And the government needs to track down which government office was issuing building plans in an area that the government said people should leave. It reminds me of what Aghogho talks about all the time with urban planning. But let's talk about the eviction itself and the demolition of shops. Some observers will say that the patience of the government had run out after 20 years, but others will say, hold on, government, after all, has all the power. Was there really a need to demolish the shops and destroy the property inside of them? Is that the only way to evict somebody? Even private citizens as landlords do not demolish the house to evict the tenant that hasn't paid rent. So the idea is that government could have used the security agents to move the traders out and move their property out. And this decision to demolish with the goods still inside is even stranger when we now hear the government saying that they're going to compensate the victims. Isn't that our taxpayer money that could have been saved if the eviction did not destroy property? I'm confused how things happen in Lagos, Aghogho. Help me understand.
Well, before we go on the outbreak, I can say categorically that many times when you issue all the quit notices, they don't go. There have been times I've been on the demolition back in the days in my other life. And I mean, as we're getting this, when people are beginning to pack their things, and we've told them before, leave. So people would not go until the last bit. The places in Lagos have been marked X for several years now. They still think maybe things will change. But if you ask them where you are building approval, none. But we talk some more about this and other stories right after the break.
Hard Facts will be right back. Welcome back to Hard Facts.
Do you think government needed to demolish the shops with the property still inside? What do you think about the claim from the traders that they were still getting building approvals from government 20 years after the initial instruction to vacate? Is there room for government to use a human face, like Aghogho likes to say, in this situation? 01277 0993, 01277 1993, 01277 2993, and 01277 3993. More importantly, did this affect you? Are you a trader who has a shop that was demolished at the Kotanguwa market? Hello.
Hello.
Aha, good afternoon. What's your name, please, and where you calling from?
Good afternoon. This is George. Currently in Ikoyi.
Say that again, Francis.
George.
George, okay.
Currently at Ikoyi.
All right, George, please go ahead.
Greetings to Sandra as well.
Hi, good afternoon.
Okay, on this demolition stuff, before I go there, let me quickly remind, same way you've been mentioning this I've been given 20 years ago. I had issues with my phone just 2 weeks ago, and I was at the normal Ikeja computer village to go get it. While waiting, I was talking with one of the boys there, and he was talking about, I raised the issue of, I heard they're moving you guys. He said they've been saying yes that even this year, they contributed money to sort. So basically, for the last 2 years, there's somebody in one of the government agencies that has been collecting payment. So basically, like it's I'm administrator or whatever do they call it now between you and the government, so that they don't move guys there. So clearly, some people, same way, I'm sure same thing must have been happening at Kotanguwa as well, whereby someone has been collecting money on behalf of the traders. Like, don't worry, we'll push it forward. Don't worry.
Meanwhile, ending up in his own pocket.
So I think it goes a long way. I know you guys will talk about the ban. So I think yes, in as much as it's right, Greater Lagos, it's not master plan and all. I think we don't do the right things first.
Right.
Now you've destroyed, like I just said. Now you're using our money to pay back. VAT has been increased from 5% to 7%. That means things are much more expensive. I heard on your news program today, so the doctor, the resident consultant for in Nigerian Info, and I was talking about trekking. There's no between trekking and exercise. It's just appalling. It's appalling. We just do things haphazardly, and I think our major problem is because I think the law could sue. If there is a joint suit against government, yes, it might take some couple of years. Maybe if we sue agencies, maybe start with the Ministry of Environment or whatever, building planning, then we'll be able to have a reference like, a case against the government in 1922. Sorry, Jerry, I'm ranting this way. It's annoying. Apologies.
All right, George. Thank you very much. Hello and good afternoon. Hello. Okay. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Maku.
Makushi.
Sandra Ezekwesili. Well done.
Thank you. Good
We
afternoon.
know who this is.
You see, God bless the last caller.
But you didn't tell us your name first.
This is MI from Akoka.
All right, Emma,
Hello,
go
Emma.
ahead.
You see, the problem is when you are looking for a snake, you start killing everything that is long.
Emma and his proverbs, eh?
Yes, he's our resident potato chip.
You see, because you are looking for a snake, you start killing everything that is long. You see, he has said it all. He has said it's an inside job. You know what? There's some government never comes out and say, this one of us is also culpable. Do you understand? It takes two hands for a handshake. That somebody from the government side is culpable in this. Do you understand? So when I see all this overzealousness, you have already the damage has been done, but don't now try to show us that you're on top of things by showing muscle, by state force. Very appalling. Like you said, you have a litigation system. Somebody should be in court this morning answering queries. So Pina should be served. Do you understand? You're hitting me when I'm already low because you want to be in charge. Where were you? Thank you for waking up, but don't use me for showing off that now you're now in charge. It is very appalling, my sister. Thank you.
All right, MI. NURTW's Lagos chapter has warned all Danfo drivers not to increase their fares due to the increased demand after the state's restrictions on bikes and Keke. The warning came from the state chairman, Musiliu Akinsoyo, aka MC Olomo. Akinsoyo said any Danfo driver who raises fares will be dealt with by the union because it would be unfair to increase the pain of Lagosians. He also said the union was working with investors to get more buses onto the road to fill the void caused by the removal of Okadas and tricycles. Reactions to the ban continue to pour in from across Lagos, with citizens reporting long wait time for buses and fare hikes in affected areas. Do you think the union can control the price, Aghogho?
There's a conundrum in environmental circles. When a tree falls, who hears it? It's the sort of thing that MC Olomo has put. Well, I was just pointing to you, the Commissioner for Information, who said 65 buses and 6 boats was the alternative in filling the void.
8 boats.
8 boats, okay, and they've commissioned some of those boats, we understand. I listened to more during the news, and I hear about how many thousand people are going to be ferried in the 65, not ferried, in the 65 buses, about 55,000 a day. But that's a drop in the ocean in the numbers of people who were stranded at the bus stops. There are just some parts in Lagos right now from going by what I've seen. It's impossible to move from one street to the next street. Look at Victoria Island. In fact, so some of the arguments I've seen online now is the sort of toga that this administration, other administrations before this administration have won because it's been called elitist in the way some of the development control planning has happened. So if you're a resident in Victoria Island and you're a resident in Festac or resident in Ikeja, some of those other areas where you don't even know where's the inner street anymore in Victoria Island. So you don't have the Keke, you don't have the Okada in any street on Victoria Island. But yet they are inner streets.
When we talked with the House Chair for transportation yesterday, he said that Victoria Island is under Central Business District, and that's why you have a situation where there are no Kekes and Okadas in the streets as well.
Who made VI Central Business District?
You're the urban planner in this relationship. You tell me.
Okay, just allow me for 30 seconds. So, Marina is a central business district, just like Ikeja. But Victoria Island was a residential area. And because of the extension of businesses on Marina, and there was nowhere, they began to move towards Ikoyi. All the residences changed their ways, changed from residential to commercial, mixed use. So whose fault is it at the end of the day that you now have commercial businesses? Without the infrastructure to meet up those businesses, you've had the population quadruple on the island. So what makes a CBD Victoria Island? Does it qualify? The access roads become expressways. Suddenly an access road now is no longer an access road. So those questions the planners will have to answer. I'm not sure if you're going to classify what a CBD is. Victoria Island meets that classification. There are many things wrong with VI. For one, let's start with the transportation system.
What I do know, Aghogho, is that the National Union of Road Transport Workers are one of the few clear winners of this policy. Some observers have said for years they've been clashing with the Motorcycle Riders Union and trying to get them to pay dues and align. In fact, there are news stories every few months where Okada riders accuse NURTW agents of obstructing them or even fighting them. And of course, we also saw the bike hailing apps and the car hailing apps also complaining about NURTW, but eventually had to come to agreement with NURTW. The bike apps even started paying a license fee to NURTW. Now, suddenly, the bikes are off some roads, Kekes are off those roads as well, and Danfos are going to fill the gap.
And this, sorry, Sandra, it's also something someone's going to point out also. The Association of the Motorcycles, Comoron, is what they're called, and the NURTW, like you pointed out, been at loggerheads for several. So they asked those guys to pay them for their for operations, and they refused. So eventually they found a way around because those guys are equally strong. Held them, so they have some sort of independence in how they operate. So NURTW is also equally in the sights of the government because for many years now there's also been talk that they are going to ban the downforce, which is primary platform for the NURTW. So they're also being careful in saying that we could take our own time to, otherwise we could equally get banned. So that's a tricky situation they found themselves in also.
What you find now is that more NURTW members are on the roads. It means that more revenues will be available for Danfos, which means that the union will get more payments as far as dues are concerned. So when the NURTW chairman says the Danfo fares should remain unchanged, he can afford to say so because the union's revenue would still increase. But the average Lagosian is still stuck paying for a Danfo where before she would have paid for a Keke that's still more money out of her pocket. And now there are stories of children who are having to ask strangers for lifts. There are stories of people who are too tired to keep walking, and so they're resting in very unsafe places.
Yeah, security problem. So multiply effect has already been seen, for example, in the market. The price of food up. I just found out this afternoon. So people, if you get to the market, when you see the price of gari and beans and tomatoes and all of that going up, it's back to this because they hiked the fares for the bosses so that they could make up for the money that they lost from the So MCO Luomo, how is going to do this? It's a problem.
I don't know.
2, there are areas in Lagos that did not have buses plying there for many years. You have the Kekes plying there. Those traders now cannot move their goods to the market. So they're transferring the cost of moving those goods at an exorbitant rate back to the consumer. So it's a no-win situation
so your
for
mama
everyone.
put will increase. But let's find out from you. Have the words of the NURTW chairman worked in your area? Are Danfos keeping their prices stable? Are there enough Danfos servicing your area right now? How long are your wait times? How long did you wait today to get to work? How's the ban affecting you? Our numbers are 01277 0993, 01277 1993, 01277 2993, and 01277 393. We have Facebook available as well, so share your comments on Facebook. Nigeria Info 99.3. Hello.
Please.
Hello.
To help me with more money. I need more.
Hello. I'm not sure that person knew that we connected. Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Please go ahead. What's your name first? Where are you calling from?
This is Comrade.
Comrade.
From
All right, please go ahead.
Actually, my brother, we in the masses of Lagos State are passing to. I did go to work today. Along already, agree. If you see the checking, you are Nigerians are passing to. Right from Ikeja, people check it down to Oja.
Wow. From Ikeja, where in Ikeja to Ojota did you say? From where in Ikeja to Ojota?
Before, they bought BRT bus along that area. Now that very area before is 15 naira for Ojota, for Maruwa, to the house already. When you are going to Ikeja, it's 100 naira. But the bus, if you like, you are dropping a step down, drop anywhere along the way, it's 100 naira.
Wow.
And this is government buses that Nigeria is supposed to benefit from. Where are we going now? I don't think this is favor Nigeria masses. If you want to go to Toy Street now, to Keja, you can't go there. There are no buses running that houses. You must trek. You cannot force Nigeria to check because you want to benefit your government.
But can I mention? Can I say something, comrade? Yesterday we had the honourable member of the House of Assembly who chairs the Committee on Transportation, and he said that Lagosians should endure. That this will not last forever.
Lagosians will endure. I want them to drop their vehicle and go through this state commercial buses office. Let all the House of Assembly members drop their buses, their vehicle, let them check through the system or through the same buses to office for 1 week and see. That is that we see what we are feeling. I don't think that what they are telling us is if they should do it for 1 week, whether they will go to the office in the next 1 week.
All right, comrade, thanks for calling to share your thoughts. Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon. What's your name?
Yes, indeed. Ayobami speaking.
This is who?
Ayobami speaking.
Ayobami, go ahead.
You see, the nature of the thing, I don't think government should do this, honestly. Because it's not everybody that will live a private life. And this thing is not helping at all. Honestly, let's just be straight and fair. But I was thinking two things presently. Either they want to use this manifesto. Do you get it? Or they want to bring their own short note to cover this up. Please. Thank you, my brother.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much.
All right, let's move on to our final story where we hear that the community policing service would be purely voluntary and the constables to be recruited will not receive any salary. That's what the police said on Monday. According to the Punch, police had started meeting traditional rulers and community leaders to set up a recruitment and screening process for the new constables. This is in line with the federal government's January 23rd directive to the police hierarchy to commence the recruitment of special constables. As part of the moves to recruit community policing constables, the Ekiti State Police Command on Sunday said that it had sent recruitment forms to all police stations in all the local government areas of the state. According to the command, applicants must be between the ages of 21 and 50. According to the Commissioner for Police in Ebonyi State, Shola Awotinde, the proposed recruitment was meant for Nigerians who are already employed and therefore will not need to be paid. Unpaid police, Aghogho, how does that sound?
This is like, it just reminds me of the children growing up and the parents will ask them the question, what do you want to become when you grow up? By what chips growing up, which was an American police series that ran then. I mean, it was a black guy and a white guy. It was fantastic. And I said, a police. My father looked at me. That look, I don't think I have seen it ever replayed. I said, Dad, you don't say the guy is in chips. He said, that's America. Yeah, people don't want to become policemen as children. But I would love to see this happen where citizens take up this new deal. The police, according to the statement, say it's always been there.
So I could volunteer, for instance.
Yeah, just revived it. I'd love to see Sandra in the police constable uniform. See whether the police is your friend.
I'll carry a baton.
Because the police are having a difficult time. Looking at two previous stories, you can understand why people have this anger with politicians, especially elected politicians, saying that they are elitists. They want to drive away all the poor people. They want to have stuff only for themselves. The police have a difficult job. For years, they've tried everything. They say police is your friend. They've done this. They've done that. They've asked children to go on excursions to police stations. Children still dread when you call Ujiju. Next thing you imagine is a policeman. You know, all those sort of things. You do your face like that. It's one of those professions that you don't think. But I think this will do well in terms of rebranding the police. One, in terms of community policing. I don't know about the money. I'm not sure anybody's really interested. I mean, Sandra's not interested in police. How much allowance can they give Sandra to want to be a police woman?
But you know, Aghogho, I have two conflicting thoughts. On the one hand, it makes sense to say we're only opening this up to responsible people who already have jobs, and therefore there's no need to pay them, right? After all, government is broke. But on the other hand, this could attract desperate people who are planning to use the job as a workshop. You know what I mean? Those people who say, now from where man they walk, they chop. Abi? Yeah? So imagine people who gladly accept to do the work with no salary because they know that they will use the power of a police constable to extort you and I in the community. Or imagine a scenario where somebody has a job and they are screened and they're given the constable appointment and then he loses his job. Does he automatically get released from the constabulary? Does he get fired from the constabulary? What about all the time that was spent to train him? Will the police even be aware that he has been sacked from his real job? What if he just sticks around but now starts using his police power to make money since he doesn't have another job? So there appears to be a few pros and cons to this thing. But let's ask you what you think.
The angel's in the detail. If the screening, the vetting process has to be that great so that but I
but
dread
there's no job security in Nigeria.
My problem, is I dread public anything public service to go and meet. If I can do everything I have to do private. You know where I'm coming to. I will. I just went to try to get the national identity card and suddenly realize the horrors people have been talking about. I dread anything public service to have to go through.
Well, except it's FIRS. I can vouch for FIRS. The service is actually very... it's so shockingly good. Like, the service at FIRS is so shockingly good. I don't know why. They're so courteous. They smile. And, they help you get things done quickly.
I had to do nice. When I talk with the guys at the INI, when I talk with them and they keep asking, are you not a Nigerian? I said, yeah, but I'm just thinking that there should be a more efficient way in getting things done without having to do the kunkere way around the.
Let's come
thing,
back to you. Does it make sense for constables to be unpaid? What do you think about the idea of
Yeah.
police working with traditional rulers to screen and select?
I think we should also even ask them if they call in whether or not they also want to
will
volunteer their
that's
services.
great. 012770993, 012771993, 012772993, and 3993. There's Facebook, Nigeria Info 99.3. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. What's your name and where you calling from?
Brother Aghogho and Sister Sandra.
Good
This is
afternoon
John.
to you. Welcome, John.
Brother John, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm calling from the Ikotu Oasis.
A Cotton Fellowship, eh? Go ahead, please.
All right, I've heard all your discussion, ranging from the transport wall to these constables' voluntary services. Well, I think our fundamental problem is planning. You know, we have noble men and women in Nigeria who can do voluntary services without being paid. But it all boils down in planning, because there may be some bad eggs too among them. Like you rightly said, who probably may have been relieved of their job or doesn't even have a job. And because of the power vested on them, they want to, exploit that. So I think it requires adequate planning and proper identification. We don't have a database. That's the problem. We don't even know how many policemen we have in this country. So if there's a proper plan, I think that will go a long way. Then in regards to the issue of the transportation, all this plan, I think the Lagos state government actually meant some good things for Lagosians. Well, it's untimely. Yeah, they should have made that.
It's like that maxim, road to hell is paved with good intentions. Huh?
Exactly. They had good intention, but it was untimely now. I don't know. God will help us. It's well, sir. Thank you. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you, Brother John.
I hope they will listen.
They are listening. We have Jonathan Atuvier on Facebook who says, only in Nigeria government will stop unemployed people to go and find job. Why ban Okada when there is no substitute replacement? It shows poor judgment and wrong evaluation. Atanda Kayode Samuel says, quarterly the school and students are not spared. The volume of latecomers is enormous and the journey back home for students is Herculean. Aghogho, do you know how hard it must not have a car and close work at 6 p.m. and have to walk a long distance? Like you've already dealt with your dramatic boss that is trying to get you fired in the office. So you're mentally exhausted.
So what even frightens me about the entire thing is that there's no scientific way in this way this has been done. Say, for example, these are the number of buses, these are the number of trips. You know what I mean? The biggest joke in town is 65 buses, 8 boats in dealing with a population of 20 million people, trips and all of that. So if there was some description saying, at this bus stop, usually we have 10,000 people, we have 100 Keke and 500 Okada that move people from here. This is what we're bringing in place to take care of that. We don't have any of that to show that some
they should employ you and make you commissioner for planning or something. We've got messages on WhatsApp.
Let's go on WhatsApp and hear what they say. President Sandra's president, she's the one elected office that's caused this whole thing.
Wow.
Shaku, Maku, Master, Makushi to you. Introduction of new buses won't solve anything when the roads are bad, which most times results to heavy hold-ups. Why should the government looking for healthy teeth in an unhealthy mouth? Another proverb master here. So unfortunate. Joe from Iba. You can see the areas with price increment, and he's done us the favor of looking at a map. Yeah, and everywhere you have times 2 in Apapa, times 2.4 in, where is this? Ikoyi, Sulere, 1.7. So virtually everywhere in town, which I also noticed, you've had price increment going. They're not listening to MC.
Obviously. Okay. Let's go back to the phone lines. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. What's your name?
This is Victor from Aghogho.
Welcome, Victor. Go ahead.
Yeah. On the police constable, you remember how NSDS was formed? After the Civil War, people volunteered to protect government assets. And today, these people are government employees. I don't think this concept of a thing will be sustained. Eventually, they will demand pay,
and it will become a full-time job.
Do you think you would personally volunteer to constable?
Pardon?
Would you volunteer to be a constable?
I'm not volunteer to be a constable. Nigeria is not what that is. Thank you.
Very honest. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good
Thanks for calling.
evening.
What's your name?
Augusta.
Augusta. Would you volunteer to be a constable?
Definitely no.
Why not?
Because this concept is not properly planned, like normal Nigeria regulation and stuff like that. They don't plan stuff properly. You said this. You're going to have a colleague that does not have a job and is trying to extort the community. You're not even sure about your own security. Do you understand? So this constable thing, nah, not for me. Definitely not for me.
Okay.
And this transportation
Constable
is...
Augusta.
How has that affected you? How has the ban affected you?
Today, I went from Aja to Falomo for 400 naira.
Wow.
That was...
In a bus, right?
Yes, in a bus.
Wow.
Let's not call it a bus. A contraption called a bus.
Definitely. It is very, very awful. And we're not even close from work. It's not yet 5 o'clock. And you have crowds already.
Right. I mean,
traffic
this is
is crazy.
unsustainable for you. I mean, how much are you going to be earning to spend? If we do
400
400,
every
almost 15,000 naira you're going to be spending in a month.
On how
Yeah,
much salary?
More than
so
even.
It's very bad. So please, our governor and whoever is in charge, please, you guys should make alternatives. You can't just ban something or scrap something without an alternative beforehand. So please, if they are listening, because I know they are not listening.
No, they are.
They're
Oh,
listening.
trust
Please,
me,
if they are listening, they should please do something. They should come down from their cars and trek with us. Then they understand.
They'll understand
us
how
better.
far.
Very true.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Augusta, for calling us. Hello.
Sandra. Very quickly, you don't call hungry men to come and protect pot of soup. Please, let me tell you something.
First of all, who's the pot of soup before we ask who is a hungry man?
Security, Aghogho can call it. Security is not it's not an all-commerce business.
Oh,
The
boy.
main job of security is intelligence, and intelligence by its nature is discriminatory.
No, but that's why they're bringing people from the community itself, number one.
but
And
because
you know
that-
that in some other parts of the world, so for instance in America, for instance, sometimes they have an actual police person, and then that police person deputizes a member of the public as a sheriff, right? To just help keep an eye on things. So this kind of practice is actually common in a lot of, more developed countries.
You have answered the question. Said more developed countries. You're comparing apples and oranges. Please, let me tell you something. I have a background in surveillance, intelligence, and reconnaissance. Do you understand?
Okay.
Once you cannot protect the anonymity in security, there's a breakdown. Do you understand? Security works when you can protect my identity. Because when you expose me as a mole, then I'm exposed to risk. So I'm even better off not even being part of it than do you understand what I'm saying? Let me give a classic example. There's a place in Yaba. It's called White House. The owner of the person was mocked.
Yeah.
The person reported to the police. Guess what? They came and attacked him. How was the connection between the fact that he reported to the police and in the night they came and said, do you understand? So
Killed him, yeah.
a very porous. Are you telling me that I like fried rice? I should go and
That's where we'll wrap this up. Thanks for being a part of the Big Three. Coming up is Community U Report. After that, let's talk World Cancer Day. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili.
And I'm Aghogho Oboh.
Hard Facts will be right back.